Hey, what's up, guys? This is Squirology. In this Chess.com lesson, I want to look at a game between Amos Byrne, English master, and Alexander Alekhine, former world champion. B4 was played. Black is continuing his pawn storm. He's trying to open up lines for his rooks, so this makes a lot of sense. And here, white plays c3. c3 is a backwards pawn. It's a weak pawn. And black doesn't have a weak pawn. A weak pawn is a pawn that can't be protected by another pawn. All of black's pawns can be protected by pawns. For example, if this guy wants to be protected by a pawn, all he has to do is move up. If h7 wants to be protected by a pawn, all it has to do is move up. All right. So white is the only one with the weak pawn. And he moves back. He's putting a lot of his pieces on the back rank. And he completes. He completes the formation. All of his pieces are now on the back rank. It's not really an active way of playing. I mean, it's not what you want usually. If that happens to you, it's because you did something wrong. All right. Here, white plays rook f2, which is a good move. If you can't be active, if your pieces are lacking power, one idea is to neutralize the most active piece in your opponent's army. This is good. This is the most active piece that black has, a pig on a2. So he just attacks the pig, tries to get rid of it, and he ends up taking it off the board. And then he neutralizes black's queen. He's gonna be able to trade the queen. Queen has nowhere to go. If, for example, queen b3, then knight b4 traps the queen. So that's not possible. Well, that's just not good. So they go into an endgame. Well, a queenless, rookless endgame. Just a minor piece endgame. Here, Amos Byrne offered Alekhine a draw. But Alekhine declined it because he thought that he was going to win the c3 pawn. It does look like he's going to win it because the knight that's a blind spot. It would take the knight 3 moves to protect it. 4 moves to get there, but 3 moves to protect it. c2, a3, b1. The bishop obviously can't. I mean, it's just impossible. Well, it can. Actually, it can. It can protect the dark square, the pawn. And it will. It will. And the king is too far away from the pawn to protect it, as of now. So he plays king f2. And black can't play knight b5. Not now. Well, he can, but it's not going to give him an advantage. Let's look at that. Knight b5, bishop a4, and we see a light squared bishop protecting a dark square, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it does happen. And let's say, for example, bishop c6 with the threat of knight d4, unleashing a discovery. So takes. And now it's equal. The endgame is a good knight versus a bad bishop. It's a bad bishop because most of black's pawns are on light squares. In fact, the major pawn chain, black's major pawn chain, is on the light squares. So if anybody has a chance of pressing, it's white. White can press on forever. Alekhine didn't like this, so he decided not to go into it. So here he didn't play knight b5. Instead, he played bishop c6. He's not letting go of this idea. I don't like this move because even though it's not terrible, it doesn't lose the game. He's not letting go of this knight b5. He should just let it go. It's not the right plan. What he should do is address his bad bishop. He should play something like knight c8, knight b6, and then bishop a4. To trade off his bad bishop, to get rid of his bad piece, and then bring his king into the game. He'll be able to do that. It's possible, but he didn't do that. Instead, he continued with this plan of knight b5. What he's hoping that white will play bishop a4. But that just loses material. Knight d4 and black's winning. Black's going to be up a pawn. And we've already seen what happens when you're up a pawn in the endgame. If you don't know, then look at my video, Activity and Zugzwang. Okay, so if he takes with the king, then black will take the bishop. And if he takes with the pawn, well, yeah, same thing. And if he takes the bishop, like he takes like this, well, then black will just take back. And he'll still be up a pawn. All right, so he doesn't give up on the idea, but white doesn't fall for it. White, instead of playing bishop a4, plays king d2. Protecting the weak pawn with the king. That's the best protector of weak pawns. All right. Now black centralizes the king, which makes a lot of sense. And now white improves his knight, which wasn't doing anything on a1. It was a pretty dreadful piece. All right. So here, things have changed dramatically. From where we started. In the position that we started, black was pretty active. But now things have changed a lot. White is the one that's more active. White has the advantage. Why? It's because of the bishops. Black has a bad bishop. White has a good bishop. Look at white's pawns. They're on dark squares. That means they complement each other. They work well together. Like Batman and Robin. Batman is really smart, big. Robin is small, acrobatic. They complete each other. This is perfect. The pawns take over the dark squares. The bishop takes over the light squares. But with black, that's not the case. He doesn't have that kind of harmony. The light squared bishop is not working with the pawns. They're doing the same job. So that's not what you want. That's not what you want at work. That's not what you want on a sports team. That's not what you want with your chess pieces. Okay. And the other thing that's a big worry, or it's something that black needs to worry about, is white trading off his bishop for black's knight. The endgame will be good knight versus bad bishop. And that could take forever. I mean, somebody who's a maestro in the endgame could play on forever. All right. So here, Alekhine plays f5. This is a big mistake. It's a big mistake. Well, not a mistake. It's an error. It's different from a mistake. A mistake is when you do something on accident. An error is when you think what you're doing is right, when it's not. He pushes a pawn, but it's not smart. You don't want to do that. You don't want to push pawns when you're worse. When you are less active, when you have a disadvantage, you don't want to push your pawns, because the attacking side, the side that has the advantage, will be able to take advantage of that. It's like he didn't realize it. Yeah, Alekhine probably he didn't realize it. He didn't adapt to the situation. He was still trying to win. You can tell with this plan by playing bishop c6 and knight b5, going for a cheap tactic against Amos, and then playing f5. He's still trying to win. I mean, he probably wanted to maneuver the bishop or do something like that to gain space. But he didn't realize that he's worse. He's got the bad bishop. He's the one that has the disadvantage. Therefore, he should not be playing active moves like f5. He should be just, like, for example, something that he could play is he can move the knight back to c7. That's fine. Move the knight back to c7 and shuffle the king back and forth. Is it beautiful? No. Is it fun? No. But sometimes you have to survive. Sometimes you just have to survive. It reminds me a lot of MMA. In MMA, sometimes fighters get rocked. They get hurt badly. They get hit in the face or the liver or somewhere. And what they need to do is they need to recover. They need to survive. That happened with Fedor Emelianenko in his fight against Fujita a long time ago. He did that. He got hurt. And instead of, like, after getting hurt, nearly knocked out, instead of just trying to knock his opponent out, he said, "You know what? I'm not going to be active. I'm going to clinch. I'm going to keep it close." Same thing in chess. If you are at a disadvantage, by the way, this is a clip of that. It's only a few seconds long. He got hurt. Instead of trying to punch because he didn't have balance, he could have gotten knocked out because he was more susceptible because of the brain damage. A lot of things could have happened. Instead of fighting him like his regular fight, just a stand-up kickboxing fight, he just hugged the guy. He clinched. He got close. He's trying to survive. He immediately adapted. That's pretty impressive. Somebody nearly getting knocked out and he adapts like that. So Alekhine, he's a young guy. He was 19 years old when he played this. Amos was like 62, 63 years old. So he was a bit unrefined. Not unrefined. He was just a rough diamond. Okay, so he didn't really know the rule of, you shouldn't move your pawns if you're at a disadvantage. Okay, but he does. And Amos makes a threat. Alignments. Unprotected piece. So he wants to play something like knight c4. Not something. He wants to play knight c4. And after dc4, he'll pick off the bishop. And he'll be up a pawn. And he'll be winning. So black has to play king d7. See, he messed up. He messed up. This configuration didn't work for him because he was going for cheap shots instead of thinking strategically. Now, I'm not getting mad at Alekhine. He was young. He was trying to win. I don't blame him. That was good. That was good that he did that. I like his fighting spirit. Okay. So now he plays g4. Amos Byrne plays g4. Smart. If you're attacking, you want to open up lines. If you are the side with more activity, in this case it's definitely white, because his knight is centralized, it's not misplaced. This knight's not doing much. Not with the king on d2. And of course he has his good bishop. So in this case you want to open up lines. This is exactly what you want to do. Open up lines. And he does that. Now Alekhine makes another mistake in the same vein as the last mistake. Okay, sorry. Error. He plays takes. Instead, he should play g6. Keep it as closed as possible, like Emelianenko, getting close to Fujita, just clinching, being very close. This is smart, because now let's say white takes. He can't. White's not going to be able to attack this pawn. He can't attack f5 and he can't attack h6. It's not possible. He can't do it with his light squared bishop. He can't do it with the knight because he can't go to f5 because of the pawn. He can't go to g4 because of the pawn. And if he tries to go with the king, somewhere like here, well, who's going to protect the weak pawn on c3? Something's got to give. He's going to be overworked. He can't. He just can't do it. For example, let's see. Let's say he plays bishop d1 to make way for the king, right? Well, no, I don't like that move. That's just a bad move. Maybe knight d1 to protect the weak pawn, and that way he can start moving the king. All right, so knight a3. And this is very uncomfortable, because now the bishop can go to a4. If the king strays too far away, like that, then bishop a4. Remove the defender. That's crucial defender right there. That's a signal of crucial defender. And black's gonna be able to win. For example, he takes, and then he picks off the c3 pawn. Now black's totally winning. By taking, he helps white a lot. Now, white wants to play something like f5. He wants to play f5 and then create a passed pawn. If he can create a passed pawn, then he'll have something to look forward to. So black plays g6, but now white's going to be able to attack that pawn. In the other variation where he kept it closed, it was impossible to attack either of these pawns. But we'll see in the later variations that this is going to become possible. He's going to be able to attack those pawns. All right, so it looks like it's a good time to stop because the second part, is pretty complicated. I want to spend some time on that. Okay, guys, please follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you on Chess.com. Bye.